Good morning. Welcome to the best part of the day. The early mornings are so fresh, so exciting. We start a new day with a lot of fresh hopes, with a lot of fresh mind, and with a lot of fresh energy. Also, now the winters are subsiding, so even the weathers are getting more pleasant. Yes, at some places it is very misty. At some places, still the temperatures may be low, but at least otherwise, the mornings have become beautiful, and we are together at a very beautiful part of the day so that our entire day turns out to be very strong, very enriching, and very much full of knowledge, wisdom. So, with this, let us start our today's session. I have to take up a new topic. So, we are going to start a new topic. But before that, since the subject is completely new, you have till now had three chapters done. First, introduction by me, and then two more chapters, which were the basics of costing, the main elements of cost. One is material, one is employee. So let me first take up your queries question before I can proceed with my deliberation. Yes, it is a very good morning. Yes, Meenu Kumari, good morning. Jash, Pushpendra, Ananya, Diksha, Amit, Navneet, Ankita, Prajyot, Saroj, Nikunj, Diksha, Maithili, Harsh, everyone, very warm good morning. So let me first take up your queries. If anybody has a doubt in whatever you have studied, any questions, please raise your hand or you can put it in the chat box. I would like to first address your questions before I take you to the next part, which is a very important topic of overheads in this subject of CMA. But before that, your queries first. Why there is change in teachers in cost accounting? See, it is not that there is change in teachers in cost accounting only. It is our policy that we would like to give our students knowledge from across India, and we have on our board the most expertise faculties from different parts of India, beta. So that is why we have teachers for different topics so that you also can learn from various teachers. Anyways, all teachers are there to solve your queries on any earlier topics. So feel free. Also, whenever we'll be having revision at that time, also you can again come back with your queries. So in fact, you should be more happy and appreciating that we are providing you a bouquet of teachers from across India. Pushpendra, that's why I said it is our policy. We purposefully have teachers from across India so that you get the knowledge base, the different teaching styles, because see, everybody has a different liking or understanding for a subject. So every teacher has a different style of explaining, so it helps. That is what is the point, right, Pushpinder? And anyways, beta, in life, when today you are as a student, tomorrow when you'll go as a professional, in fact, you should be adapted to adjust to everyone because you will have different bosses, you'll have multiple bosses. If you're doing your own business, you'll have different types of clients. So, in a different sense, I'm not justifying or I'm not defending anything, but it is how I approach things. Whenever things are not in my comfort zone, I take it more in a sense that yes, it is helping me to update myself. See, I can understand what is the pain. You may have found comfort with one style of teaching, but when the style changes, you may not find comfort. But beta, it is a different learning process, because tomorrow you'll be required to handle clients who are of different nature, different attitude, different walks of life. So you should be able to adapt to them. If you are in job, if you are having bosses, it won't be you'll be having only one boss, you'll be having peers. So I take things whenever things are not in my comfort zone or in my likings, I take it like this, that why I am not feeling comfort, because that is where I need to upgrade myself, because that is how life will come to me. It will not come within my four corners or within my defined rules. Correct, Beda? So instead of resisting things, try to adapt yourself. And anyways, at BOS, we are there always for you all. Every teacher is there to solve all your queries, whether that teacher had taught that topic or not. We don't have that type of bifurcation. In fact, within teachers, we intentionally switch our topics in every batch. So what I'm teaching in this batch, I may be teaching some other chapter in another batch. Why? So that we are giving rotation knowledge to the students also. Fine, beta. So still, as I said, you have queries, you can always put it across to me. That is why I'm waiting. I have not started with overheads. I'm waiting for you all to put your queries. You put your questions, I'll answer them, I'll clear your doubts, then we'll start with overheads. No worries. No queries, students? Then I will take the charge of the topic that is at our hands. Overheads. Don't go by the chapter number. It is my internal breakup where I have put my chapter numbers. Okay. Now, what is this overheads all about? For this, let us understand something which I had explained to you in the initial part in my first introductory lecture. See, you have to prepare a cost sheet. Now, pay attention, everyone. This is going to be very important. Cost sheet is the statement like how you have balance sheet and P&L, which is the concluding statement of accounts. Cost sheet is one of such concluding statements, and this is the statement which tells you the cost. Now, if you remember my first lecture, I had explained that cost is made up of expenses, and expenses are categorized into three broad components. One is material, one is labor, and one is expense. Now, when these three components are identified, material, labor, and expense, then costing requires you to identify them further into direct, indirect, direct, indirect, direct, indirect. What is direct? Direct are those material, labor, and expenses which you can easily identify. See, understand this. This is the pen I'm making. This is my final product. If I can measure, if I can count how much of plastic went into this, how much of ink went into this, it means these are my direct materials, right? But I also use material like stationery items in office. I also use material like grease and oil for oiling my machines. But this, I do not know how much of that grease is going in this one pen, how much of stationery is required for one pen. Then that material is indirect material. Similarly, when you come to labor, there is production labor, there is administrative staff, and there is sales staff. Now, out of all this, the production labor who manufactures this pen, only that person's time I can record ki whether he spent or she spent half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour, 1.5 hour for making a pen. And that person's labor cost, that is the employee cost, or you can call it as wages, can be calculated and charged easily to this pen because I can measure, I can count how much of time has gone into this pen of that production labor. But other than that, all other labor, even in the factory, who are not involved in production but are involved in supervision or are managers or the entire administrative staff, where we also sit as chartered accountants and consultants and the entire board of directors, your entire planning team, your entire accounts team, then coming to your sales staff, where you have salesmen, you have sales manager, etc. All these people's salary cannot be measured with one pen. How much is required for one pen cannot be measured. So it becomes indirect labor. Similarly, expenses. What are expenses? All expenses for your facilities, like for the place you require, either it will be rent, or if it is your own place, it will be depreciation. For all the assets, which includes machineries, computers, vehicles, and all types of furniture items. All these are the assets required in your business. Either it is rent or either it is depreciation. Then for all these things, you have repairs, maintenance, taxes. There are so many items. So you just visualize P&L. It is all list of expenses, which are neither material and labor. All remaining things are expenses. Out of expenses, there is hardly one or two which is direct, like royalty. If this is a branded item, if I'm making it under some brand or franchisee, then for every piece I have to pay some royalty. That is only direct. Remaining all my expenses are indirect. Now, how does costing happens? Since direct costs like direct material, direct labor, direct expenses are easily identifiable, how will you charge it in costing? See, as I gave example, now material may have two, three items. I'm just writing material, but actually it will be plastic, it will be ink, whatever it will be name wise. I can easily identify how much quantity of material is required for this pen. This I can measure, and that is why it is direct. I have to simply multiply it by its charging price. Then I will get the material cost for this pen. This is how costing happens. Same thing for my production labor. I can measure the time, how much they are spending, maybe in minutes or in hours. For this pen, I have to again multiply it by their charging price. Now here this is price of material, here price means labor rate. Again, I'll get the labor cost. And when it is direct expense like royalty, I have to pay it per piece. I know what is my per piece royalty. So I have to multiply the number of pieces of this pen by the per piece royalty. I get this. So my direct expenses, which includes my direct cost, which includes direct material, direct labor, direct expense, are easily charged, easily costed, easily computed. So I reach my prime cost very easily. Now I'll compare it with trading P&L, because this is what you have been seeing from your childhood. Now, whenever I'll say childhood, it means your commerce childhood, which starts from standard 11. So you have your manufacturing account, trading account, P&L account. Now, in all these accounts, we have so many items like purchases, direct wages, carriage inwards, direct expenses. Then in the P&L, you have salaries, rent rates, taxes, depreciation, repair, maintenance, advertisement, all those items. Now, these items only are converted into these six categories for the purpose of cost. Yes, there are some items which are present in accounts, but they are not considered as cost. Why? Because different subjects have different principal standards. Like here, you have transfer to reserves, you have provision for losses. So it may not be covered in costing fully. So we'll be discussing that also, what is covered and what is not covered in costing. Right now, my discussion point is different. Pay attention. Now, all these expenses are rewritten in costing by these names. What are the names? Direct material, direct labor, direct expense, indirect expense. So what is written over here as purchases may be written over here by the name of three and four different materials. What is written over here as wages is written over here as direct wages, indirect wages. What is written over here as salary is also written over here as indirect labor. So expenses are same, only the names and the formatting has changed. So here, this is the way of presenting your expense. Here, this is the way of presenting the expense. Now, in costing, what I have to do is I want to find out the cost and price of my product. That is what is costing. I need to cost my product. Cost my product means I need to find out of total expense how much I am spending for one product, so that I can find out its total cost, and that will help me find out its price. Now, while doing this, all the direct cost, which is direct expense, direct labor, direct material, together are called as prime cost. This is easily costed. This can be easily costed, means easily computed. Why? Because you can measure this. But this covers not the entire cost. In fact, list wise, out of this total expense, a major list is of indirect. Now, all the indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expense, these three things are collectively called as overheads in costing. So, in costing, as I said, the names are changing, the formatting is changing, the content is same. So content is what? Expenses, what you see in profit and loss account. Here they are rewritten by different names. So all your indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expense are rewritten or are renamed as overheads. Now, what is a very big challenge with overheads is how to charge them, how to find out, as I told you, how much of indirect cost is required for making this pen. Because indirect costs are indirect. They are called as indirect because you cannot identify, you cannot measure. Like, I'm paying some salary to my company's chartered accountant if he's my employee, or if the chartered accountant is my consultant, I'm paying some professional fees. How much of that chartered accountant's fees is required for this pen? You cannot measure. Similarly, you are incurring lot of expenses on the R&D of your products, on the marketing of your products, on the management of the company in the form of director salary, remuneration. Then lot of expenses is going in depreciation, repairs, maintenance. Out of all these expenses, how much is required for this pen is not known. So we have to find out a different approach for finding out how much expense I will charge to this pen, how much I should add to the cost of this pen so that the costing of this pen is complete. Now, how we will do that? This total, which is of indirect material, labor, and expense, is called as overheads. And then we divide or break up the overheads into three categories: production overheads, administrative overheads, selling and distribution overheads. So we reclassify or we bifurcate the overheads into three categories on the basis of the main functions. So what are the main functions? First is production, second is administration, third is selling. So what it will include? It will include all indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses required in factory. What this will include? Indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses required in office. What this will include? Indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses required for marketing, distributing, and selling my products. Now, I have to find out this. How to find out this? That is what all this chapter is going to explain. That is what is this whole topic dealing with. Is this clear to everyone? Now, somebody had raised hand. There were some questions. Let me take them. Yes, there is things in chat box. Let me go there. So first was Maithili sir in material cost chapter, employee cost chapter. So many formulae there are. So all formulas need to memorize. Maithili and everybody, please understand one thing. Whenever you are doing a subject which is calculation driven. Now, what subjects are calculation driven? Costing and FM. These are calculation driven. So you will have formats, you will have formulae. Like when FM will start, that is financial management. Again, you learn many formulae. But please understand, in order that you are able to solve that sum, you will have to keep in mind the formats and the formulae. Like for material chapter, you have the EOQ formula. You have to keep that in mind. You have the stock level formula. You have to keep that in mind. In labor chapter, you have the Halsey, the Rowan. You have to keep them in mind. But it is same like your school level. In school level, also in chemistry, you had formula. In maths, that is algebra, geometry, you had formula. We learned now. So you'll have to learn them for the purpose of exam. Akila is asking in exam, there is a question on simple average. There may be, because the simple average is one of the methods of stock valuation. So you may get, see, there are LIFO, FIFO, simple, weighted. So it depends upon the examiner what they are interested in. So even simple average can be asked. Sir, some students are joined CA final CMA class. No, this class. What does it mean, Diksha? Diksha, can you please clarify? Is there some confusion with students? Have they joined different link? This is what you are saying, Diksha? Because anyways, in final now we do not have CMA as a subject. It has been converted to uh, was my screen not yet shared with you all? No, my screen is shared. Na? You all can see my screen right from start. Na? I wrote all this. No, this was already there. Na? My screen. Okay. What is this? Diksha is saying some student have joined another class. Why, beta? Sir, so can we just check because today I found the number less, so I was also not clear why this has happened. So please, sir, because I'm going to start the new topic and it is important. Students should not miss, sir. So students, let me take your queries till then. Thank you, Diksha, for informing this. Uh, Surinder says shared, sir. Achha, so you have shared the link with them. This is what you are saying. Some students join another class. Okay, I mean, okay, I understood. So maybe there is some technical glitch. See, technology comes with both benefits and some challenges, but that is the beauty of life. In life, no things are straightforward. And this is students, what I always tell all my students and what I myself practice that whenever the life throw challenge at you, accept it and see it is like this somebody is throwing a ball at you. What you will do it? You will catch and then you will play with the ball. You will not worry, oh, the somebody is hitting the ball at me. So this is the difference in attitude. So when life is throwing ball at you, it may come at a very rapid pace. If it is a big ball, then just dodge it like a volleyball or like a basketball. If it is a small ball, like a tennis ball, catch it and play with it. This is how I take things when they come in life. You should also have this attitude that whenever some glitch comes, whenever some unexpected thing happens, take it sportingly. ठीक है, होता है. This keeps you calm and this keeps you always focused on your main purpose, right? So students, let me know your queries till then, till the time others join, if there is a technical glitch with them still. Others must put your queries. Manishji, should I wait till the time others are given the correct link? Okay, sir. No, because if I start, then if they are joining later, then they will not be able to catch this particular topic because then I will start the main working part. So I'm asking you, sir. Students, let me know your queries till then. If you have any queries in the previous lectures that were there, I'll just solve your queries till then, and then I will take up this topic. Just start writing some formats till then. Uh, See, explaining the entire EOQ right now is not possible, beta. See, if you have missed the previous lecture, we have the recording. Kindly join the recording, right? And for repeating any topic, no worries, beta. We'll be having the revision classes for your batch also. And in fact, for the previous concluded batch, which we concluded, there will be revision batch somewhere nearby. So be uh, keep checking the portal. You may even join the previous batches revision class whenever it happens in March, if I'm not wrong. So this topic, whatever you have missed or whatever you have not understood, will get revised there. Maithili, see, whenever you are solving from any book, if you have any doubts, you can ask any other faculty also. Like if you are solving anything and if any part is not understood that how this figure is arrived or what was done in that question, you just share the screenshot here. Whenever I'll have gap, I'll definitely explain you that part. See, explaining the whole concept is not possible because it will override this session's time, but definitely answering any of your doubts is possible for me. So if there is question, doubt with any of your for question from any book, put the screenshot, mark it. I'll explain you the answer or the doubt. So now let me proceed, students. So see, this is our cost sheet. Now in this cost sheet, these three things, which is direct material, direct labor, direct expense, can be easily costed, easily calculated, easily charged. All three words have the same meaning. But costing these three, that is how much is required for this pen, is difficult because these expenses are not required directly for pen, they are required for the overall business. That is why such expenses are called as indirect cost, and in other words, they are called as overheads. Now, how to cost this? That is what we are going to study in this chapter of overheads. Before that, just some basics about costing because this will be required in this chapter. Like how you have financial books, we have cost accounting books. In your financial books, you have the general ledger, which is the main ledger. Here also we have the general or the main ledger called as the cost ledger, where you have the different ledger accounts. Correct? The only difference is since the name of expenses of your financial books and cost books are different, hence the names of ledger accounts that we are using here is also different. I'll just draw them briefly. I'm not naming them right now because right now I do not require the names to be given, but I'm just giving you an overview so that what I'm explaining further will be connected to you, right? Now, we have a material account. See, there is a technical name for this. Right now, I'm not giving the technical name. I'm giving you the generic name. Technical names you'll understand when you go to that respective chapter and here when this comes. Then you have labor account, that is employee cost account. And then you have the three overheads account. So it is production overheads, it is administration overheads, and you have the selling and distribution overheads. Correct? Now, since you have to do costing, what you have to do, all these expenses that you are incurring, you have to charge it to your products. So you open your products accounts. Now, interestingly, for each product, you have three accounts. This three is for each product. So if I have 10 products, I'll have 10 WIP accounts, 10 finished goods account. Till the product is under production, it is WIP. Once it is production is complete, it is lying with you unsold, it is finished goods. And once it is sold, it is COS. Just keep this much in mind. And then the last account is your costing P&L account. So how you have your accounting P&L account in costing books, you have cost P&L account, right? Now comes subsidiary books. For material, you all studied the chapter of FIFO-LIFO, correct? Whatever you studied FIFO-LIFO, in fact, this you have studied in your foundation also. Though you studied it in accounts topic, actually it is part of our cost accounting books. You studied FIFO-LIFO, which is maintained in subsidiary book called as stores ledger. So whatever FIFO, LIFO, simple weighted average sums you solved, that is one of the subsidiary books called as stores ledger. Similarly, you have employee ledger. Now, what is important for us to understand over here is the overheads ledger. Now, similar to your financial books, we have subsidiary books over here. And here, for overheads, we have the subsidiary books called as the overheads ledger, or you can also call it as the overheads register. Now, how does this overheads register look like? It is like a table, and roughly, if I have to draw the table, it has particulars, it has amount rupees, it has one more column, I'll name it later, and then it has the production overheads, administration overheads, and selling and distribution overheads column. Now, please understand what expenses you are paying are by these names only. What are the names you know in accounts? Around 20, 30, 40 names are there of different expenses. Now, what we will do is all direct expenses we are leaving, direct material, direct labor, direct expense we are leaving because that is not part of overheads. Only the indirect expenses, like you have indirect material that I will take over here. You have indirect labor, which may be indirect wages. You have salaries. This is also indirect. And then you have all indirect expenses like printing and stationery, advertisement, depreciation, repairs and maintenance. We will take all the indirect expenses in our overheads register. Now, this is similar to what you write in your P&L debit side. The only difference is in trading P&L, you have written all expenses. Here, we are only taking the indirect ones because we are in the overheads register. We will write all the amounts. Now comes the most important part. As I just explained, we bifurcate our overheads into three categories. This bifurcation is done in this subsidiary register. So, whatever expenses like advertisement is purely selling distribution. So, I will not write anything here. I'll write full amount here. Are you getting this? Similarly, if there is any expense like director's remuneration, which is exclusively of administration, I'll write here, I'll not write here. But there will be many expenses which are common, like depreciation is on all assets, and all assets are there even in factory, even in your administrative office, even in your sales office. So you have different assets in different office. So what you will do is you will divide it using some ratio. So this column is of ratio. What is the name of that column? I'll explain that when we go to the technical part. First, I'm giving you the simpler part to make you understand the costing because it is same with accounts. Once you're able to connect it with accounts, keeping it in mind, understanding it is easy. So I'll use the ratio and I will divide the depreciation in all the columns. Similarly, whatever expenses are to be divided, like printing stationery may be required only in office. Salaries, I need not divide because I know how many employees are in factory, what is their salary, what employees are in office, what is their salary. Here I don't require a ratio. It is given, it is known. So you can call it as given or known. What known? Ki how much is for production labor, how much is for administrative staff, how much is for selling staff. I'll simply put it in the respective columns. So there would be different types of overheads which will have different nature, right? Understood? Surinder, you are saying again some students are connecting in CA final GST. Sir, they are not able to join. Okay. See, beta, today there is some technical glitch, and this happens at times because multiple batches are running. So when we are creating the IDs, because we create separate IDs, at times there is some technical error, and that is where the IDs get mixed up. No problem, we are looking into this. Okay, so this is how students see. What I'm trying to explain is I'm trying to bring a connection between your financial accounts and your cost accounts so that this subject should not appear to you as something coming out of blue moon. It is something very much part of what you have studied from standard 11. Only here we classify it, we categorize it differently. So same expenses, what you have in your books of accounts, I have written same those expenses. Only the thing is, in my subsidiary book, which is my overheads ledger, I will bifurcate that expense into respective columns. And this is how I will get my total production overheads figure, total administration overheads figure, total selling and distribution overheads figures. And this is what will come in my respective ledger accounts. That is why I drew these accounts first. So how do I get these figures in cost accounting? I repeat, I take my financial expenses only. The difference is in my trading P&L, I have all expenses, direct, indirect. Direct I have taken already because they are easy to cost. For indirect, I have made a list here in my overheads ledger or overheads register. Then these amounts, if they are common, they will be divided using some ratio. If they are separately known for each, it will be simply put. If they are specific to a particular department, it will be put there. And then I will make a total of this. So I will get my overheads. Now, this is what will come here, the total overheads figure from my overheads ledger or overheads register. Now comes the main part. We have to understand how this costing is done. How do I find out of total production overheads, which I've got in overheads register, total administration overheads, total selling overheads, I have to find out how much of it is applicable to this pen. This is where the costing of overhead starts. So now I come to the costing part. Costing or charging of overheads. Prior to this, what I was explaining you here was basics and accounting of overheads. So we studied first, understood the basics or the accounting part of overheads. Now what we are going to study is the costing or the charging, the main working part. Now here I'll request everyone to have a notebook, a pen and a calculator compulsorily. Yes, you also need to draw columns, but for the time being, you can keep the pencil scale ready, or you can just fold your pages and later on you can do the actual drawing of the lines and columns. So students, all set for understanding the practical part. Let me tell you, this is going to be a very interesting topic for you all. You love solving this chapter. This is very interesting, very knowledge filled, and it will be understandable. You will like doing this. Manishji, do I need to wait some time till others are joining, or can I start the practical part now? I am done with the conceptual part. Manishji, so should I wait? Are students still joining? Is there still some confusion around? Okay, so okay, excellent, sir. Then I'll proceed. That is okay, sir. That is okay. Fine. So now students have the correct link, right? Okay, students. So pay attention now. So whatever I explained you conceptually, this sheet I will be sharing. So you will get this in your this BOS portal where from where you can download this. So overheads, as I said, is made up of indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses, and then we further bifurcate it into production, administration, selling. How we do it, I have just shown you practically, right? This is the entire accounting procedure. So you overheads are analyzed into production, administration, and selling. So see, I've given you the first practical demo so that you understand the theory easily. Now, how are this done? It is done using some predetermined ratios because see, expenses are common. So these common have to be bifurcated so that you can break up it into production, administration, selling. And these ratios are determined at the beginning of the year itself so that during the year, whenever expenses are happening, you can do it. Most important, which is important, one mark theory question. The ratios which I have used to break the common expenses into production, administration, selling, these ratios are called as standing orders. So you'll get a theory question, one mark. Hey, what is standing order? Yeah, explain standing order. What is the concept of standing orders? Now, when you read standing orders, it may sound something else. Somebody has given some order to you. No, the ratio which you are using for dividing the expenses into production, administration, selling at the start of the year, those ratios are called as standing orders. I've just shown you the practical part. Now, controlling part, I'll come later once we deal with the theory part. Right now, I'm in the costing part, which is called as charging. Now, how do I charge my overheads? Now I come back to my cost sheet. Now, if you observe, here I had shown you how the direct expenses are charged. So they are charged by multiplying two things, like for material, the quantity of material with its charging rate. For labor, the hours of the labor multiplied by the charging rate. Now, the similar thing we will be doing for overheads as well. Students. First do it at my end and then I'll share the screen because it is constantly blinking. I don't know why. Now, how you charge material, same way you charge labor, same way you charge overheads. So what we will do is we will require two things. One is what we call as the base, again multiplied by the overheads charging rate, which is called as ORR. Base ORR. Base ORR. So firstly, this is how overheads will be charged in the cost sheet. Now you'll say, sir, what is base? What is ORR? I'm coming to that. Now we have three overheads. I'll come to production last because entire working part is of overheads. I will start with administration overheads. Now I want to charge this overheads. For charging anything in costing, you require the charging rate. See, these are the charging rates. So for material, you have the per unit material price. For labor, you have the per hour labor charging rate. Royalty, you know per unit royalty. Similarly, for overheads, we require the charging rates. Now, these charging rates of overheads, the charging rates for overheads is called as overheads recovery rate. And that is how the word ORR comes. That is the rate at which you have to charge the overheads. So you call it as overhead recovery rate. You may also call it as overheads charging rate, like how we are using this word charging rate for material labor. Or you can also call it as overheads absorption rates. So these are the technical names given to the overhead charging rates, but the most common name is overhead recovery rate, and that is why the short term ORR has come. Now, how will you decide this overhead charging rate? So pay attention. By this working, by this register, I have found out what is my total production, total administration, total selling, which I have debited to the respective accounts. Now, this same figure I'm going to take here. So whatever I'm going to explain to you is now coming from that above register only. So I start with administration, or you can also call it as management overheads. What I do in the numerator, I take my budgeted administration overheads. How you have got it? You know that overheads register. Now I will divide this by something which is of my choice. I will divide it either by units of production, option 1. Option 2, I'll take the same budgeted administration overheads in numerator. I will divide it by my budgeted factory cost. Now, this what we are using in the denominator is our choice, and denominator is what comes below. That is why it is also called as base. So what you are taking in the denominator is called as the base. Now, what base you should take is your choice. So for administration overheads or management overheads, commonly the recommended basis in cost accounting standards is either units of production or budgeted factory cost. Now, since numerator is also cost, denominator is also cost, so we express this as a percentage, so multiply by 100. Now, I'll take an example. Let us say, as per our above table, your budgeted administration expenses, which includes all your indirect expenses used in your office. So office asset depreciation, salary of all the office staff, director's remuneration, printing and stationery, all these which are office expenses. Let us say the total is 50 lakhs. And in the year, my budgeted output is expected to be, let us say, 2,500 units. Now, we all prepare budgets 2 days before our government presented their budget. And these 2 months, February and March, are the budgeting period for every organization. During this period, exactly this procedure is happening in everybody's factories. So all manufacturing companies or all businesses who are doing costing, they are preparing this right now for the next year. So from that basis, I get the total of my administration overheads. And similarly, from my next year's budget, I know that I'm going to manufacture 2,500 units. Now, simply what I'll do is I will divide my expected overheads by the expected units. Once I do this, what I will get is my administration overheads charging rate. How much am I getting it, students? 2,000 per unit. Please use calculators parallelly. Very good. Very good. It means what? All my administration costs, like my office salary, office asset depreciation, office electricity bill, repairs and maintenance of all my office assets, computers, uh, furniture items, etc. Roughly, all these expenses per piece of pen is coming to rupees 2,000. Now, once I get this charging rate, whenever I have to do costing here, what I will do is, let us say today how many pens I'm making. Base is what? Pens. And this charging rate is how much? 2,000. So today how many pens I'm making? So let us say I'm doing costing of 100 pens. So I'll take 100 pens, which is my base, multiplied by rupees 2,000, which is my per pen administration overheads cost. So I will get to know how much of my office cost I have to charge here. Right, students? Are you getting how we charge overheads? So for charging overheads, first you estimate the overheads and then you divide the overheads by the appropriate base. Same thing I could have done by the percentage method. So same 50 lakhs is my budgeted administration cost. And let us say 10 lakhs is my factory cost. Now I express this as a percentage because both are in rupees. So when we are dividing, we are expressing it as a percentage. So how much percentage I am getting? I am getting 500 percentage. So what I will say, my administration overheads are 500% of my factory cost. Now again, whenever I'm doing costing, in costing, when you reach the factory cost, you will multiply the factory cost by 500% so that you will get your administration overhead. So this is how in cost sheet, here administration cost will be charged. So you already have prime cost charged. Now we want to charge these three overheads. This is charged. Now I come to my second, that is selling and distribution overheads. Now I want to charge this. Again, same thing I will do. In the numerator, I'll take budgeted selling and distribution overheads, and again denominator, I'll use a base. Now, since this is selling cost, a more appropriate base will be budgeted units sold. Or second option, in the numerator, budgeted selling and distribution overheads. In the denominator, I can take budgeted sales value. Again, since both are in rupees, I'll make a percentage. So same thing. Whatever selling and distribution overheads I've computed from my overheads register, I will take that figure here. So this is how I get my numerator. Right? Now let us say in the overheads register, this figure is coming as 30 lakhs. And I was going to manufacture how many units? 2,500. But I'm expecting to sell, sorry, not rupees. My expected sales, let us say, are going to be 2,000 units. Now what I will get is, I will get my overheads. That is how much is my selling cost per unit, right? Students, are you getting this? So it is coming as 1,500 per unit of my product. Similarly, I can also find it like this. So let us say numerator is 30 lakhs and the sale value is rupees 1 crore budgeted sales into 100. So I will say that roughly 30% of my sales is my selling and distribution cost. Again, whatever is my basis, if I've taken the base as units, I will multiply it by units here. So here I'll take units, here I'll take the amount, and I'll multiply to find out this selling and distribution overheads. Minu, but I'm not clear with your question. Can you please explain me your question so that I can answer you? In section 1, if in number want to shown, still mention per unit. I did not get your question, Minu beta. If you could repeat your question, I can answer you. Students, allow me a minute, please. Yes.
Sir, there is an announcement for students.
Sorry, sir.
Sir, there is an announcement for student.
Yes.
Student who are facing the problem for joining the session, the issue has been resolved. You are requested to join through that Zoom. Issue has been resolved. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Aditya Beta. Meenu, see, understand one thing. When we are saying percentage, you multiply it by 100. So here it is 50 lakhs, here it is 10 lakhs. Had this been per unit, it would have come 5. I agree. But since you are multiplying it by 100, it will become 500%. Na? So it is per this 5 only, but we are multiplying it by 100, so it is 500%. Please understand me. So I hope you understood this. Perfect, na? Great. Good, good, good. Perfect, students. Okay, students. So now once you have understood this, now I come to production overheads. Now, even though sequentially it is first, why I have kept it last in this sequence? Because for administration, selling and distribution overheads, there is only one rate which you will be calculating. Okay, you have two options, but you will be calculating only one rate. But in production overheads, there is either one rate method, which is called a single rate or blanket rate, or there is the second approach, which is called as the departmental rate. Now, what is the single rate or blanket rate? Same like above two. What I will do is I'll take the figure of production overheads from here, right? This figure I will take. So in the numerator, what I have, again in the numerator, I have my budgeted production overheads. In the denominator, again, I have two choices. Either I'll take units. Now, obviously, which units I should take? Since this is production overheads, it has to be production units only. Or second option is I can take budgeted production overheads in the numerator, denominator budgeted direct labor cost. And since both are in rupees, so multiplied by 100. So I'll have two options. I'm showing you the first option. Now let us say my budgeted production overheads is coming as 75 lakh rupees. How many production units we were having budgeted? 2,500. So that remains same. 2,500 units. So I will get rupees 300 per unit as my production overheads charging rate or production overheads ORR. But this method is not used for production overheads. So in production overheads, instead of using a single rate, we go by departmental rate. Now you'll say, sir, what is single rate and what is departmental rate? See, for my entire administration overheads, I used one rate. For my entire selling overheads, I used one rate. Similarly, for my entire production overheads, I can use one rate. So here, I will charge all the overheads by taking one rate only. That is single rate. Now, single rate is okay for this, but for production overheads, they say that don't charge the overheads by using one rate. You further divide the overheads into the various production departments. Now, I'm sure you'll understand and agree to this. Even if I'm manufacturing this pen, entire pen cannot be made in one step. Maybe my first step is when I bring plastic, I will be first molding the plastic in one. So my production is divided into different sections or departments. So my first department would be the molding department where the raw plastic is molded. Second is after molding, I will make it a proper pen by fitting all things in it, like the nib, I'll put the ink or the cartridge, etc. And in the third section, I will do the polishing, finishing. So let us say I have three departments. First is molding, second is shaping, third is finishing. Now, first approach, which is similar to the above two overheads, where you calculate the entire overheads you take and take one base and find out one rate. Since you are using only one rate for the entire overheads, it is called as single or blanket. Blanket means it is covering everything in one rate. But for production overheads, they say no. Instead of taking the entire overheads together, that is entire production overheads, and finding out one rate, instead of doing that, you further bifurcate this 75 lakhs into its departments. So I will have to do some working by which my production overheads can be divided into the production functions or production departments. And then let us say out of 75 lakhs, 40 lakhs is required for molding itself. Out of 75 lakhs, 20 lakhs is required for shaping. And out of 75 lakhs, the balance 15 lakhs is required for finishing. So this 75 lakhs, I will break up into the production functions, which are called as production departments. And then for each department, I will use a proper base. Like for molding, since molding is done using heavy machinery, I will use the base as machine hours. So I'm writing over here budgeted molding department overheads upon budgeted machine hours. Now shaping, budgeted shaping department overheads. And I will use how shaping is done. It is done by labor. Labor are doing the shaping and fitting. That is making the complete pen. It is done by labor. So they will take the molded pen from the previous department and they will put the nib, they will put the cartridge, they will fill the ink. So I will take budgeted labor hours because this particular production is done using labor. And then in finishing, now by now my entire pen is ready. Only I have to do some polishing, putting some paint and making it very proper in shape. So budgeted finishing department overheads and I'll divide it by my budgeted production units. Now, what is the difference between single rate and departmental rate? As you can see over here, in single rate, the entire overheads are divided by single base. But here, the overhead 75 lakhs are further divided into different categories. which are its different functions. So my production never happens in one go. It happens in parts, it happens in stages. So now I divide the production overheads into the stages. And then for each stage, how I find out this overhead, that is the working we are going to do. But I will use a separate base. So since molding is done using heavy machines, so the entire work is mechanized, I will be using the machine hours. How many machine hours are required? Again, I will budget. Let us say it requires 80,000 machine hours. So I'll get a separate rate for this. Let us say how many labor hours are required here. It requires 1 lakh labor hours. And how many production units are there? It is 2,500 units. Now, what is the difference? Instead of single rate, I have multiple rates. So these are the two approaches, either single rate or multiple rates, which is department wise. And many times this is preferred over single rate when it comes to production overheads. Now, what we are going to study is we have reached up to 75 lakhs. How we have reached up to 75 lakhs? From our subsidiary books. Here you got 75 lakhs, correct? But now how this 75 lakhs has to be divided between the three production departments, this is what we are going to study now. That is what is your first practical part, how to divide the production overhead between its various production functions and production departments. Anybody, any doubts over here, students, till now this point? Students, any questions, any doubts? Please let me know your questions and doubts, if any. Is screen visible, students? Not yet, I think. Okay, super. Very good. So all have understood this point. So where are we standing? So we are standing at this point. The point is, come back to accounts. From P&L, you segregated your expenses into three categories: material, labor, expense, which is further segregated into six categories: direct material, direct labor, direct expense, indirect expense. Now all these are segregated, and after segregation, direct expenses, which includes direct material, direct labor, direct expense, gets easily charged. For indirect, we have to do some accounting, which is done in the subsidiary books of overheads. I will make a list of all my indirect expenses. I will budget their amounts, and then either directly, if it is known for which department how much, or for which function how much. If it is not known and it is common, I'll use ratio. And if it is specific, I'll put it in the respective columns. I will get my total of overheads. Now, using this total, I'll have to find out my charging rate for the overheads, which is called as overhead recovery rate or charging rate or absorption rate. Commonly, it is called as overhead recovery rate, so ORR. Now, for administration, for everything, I'll have to select a base. Base is the denominator. That is why it is called as base. So what you will take in the denominator is what is the base. So since this is administration overheads, which is a function before sales, I can use units of production or I can use factory cost. Since this is a selling function, I will use unit sold or the sales value. And for production function, if I'm using the same format as I use for administration and selling, that is called a single rate format, I will use a single base, which will be production units or production labor cost. But the recommended approach is using departmental rate. Now the question is, I have got my total production overheads. How will I bifurcate it into the various functions or departments? This is what I have to understand. This is where, yes, Akhila, so you are right. So if there is only one production department, obviously it will be the single rate only, because then there is no need of departmental rate because your production function is one. But we are talking about big manufacturing companies. So there would be multiple production departments, right? Now, how we do this? For this, let us go to the next working part. Now, this is where your actual exam problem starts. Now, what we are studying over here is we are only studying charging of production overheads. Now, here what we are going to do is we have to bifurcate our production overheads, which in my previous example is 75 lakhs, which is the total expense of my entire production function. So of my entire factory area, the total overheads is 75 lakhs. I have to divide it in my production function. Now, interestingly, when I have to divide it, I have to prepare a statement. So you can call it as a statement of production overheads. Now, in this columns are particulars, amount rupees. Again, since I have to divide it between my different production departments, I will use some ratio, which is called as basis of apportionment. What is apportion? Apportion means to divide. Now, interestingly, within my factory, I have two types of departments. One, which are actually doing production, and one, which are supporting them. So like in my previous example, which departments are actually doing production? So first is the molding department, where I convert the raw plastic into the pen body. Then I have the fitting department, where I fit all the parts in the pen to make the pen complete. And then I have the finishing department, where I do polishing everything and my pen gets ready. But to support these departments, I have one repairs and maintenance department. Now, what this department is doing? This repairs and maintenance department is taking care of the repairing maintenance of all the machines which are working in these departments. So basically, service departments are those who are rendering some service to your other departments. So you have the repairs and maintenance departments, right? Then let us say you have the stores department, where all the materials or the components, parts which are required by these production departments are kept. So within your factory, your entire departments can be divided into the one which where actual production happens, or one which are supporting the production. Just a minute, please. Yes. When the big company for mobiles do assembly and finishing, how they use the rates. So what we are studying, but that is what we are actually doing. So for each function, they will have a separate department doing each function. So this may be the one which is manufacturing, one which is assembling, one which is finalizing, fitting. So see, you apply this to any industry, your answer will be there. But what is important is these production departments can be any 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, depending upon the nature of product. But you have to also understand that besides production department in the factory, you'll have those departments which are doing something for the production department. Now, what you have to do is you have to copy the list of all your indirect expenses related to your factory, that is your production area. Take the amounts from the previous overheads register. And now the same process which we did in overheads register, we will rerun the process here to divide those expenses between our various production or factory divisions. So these are my different divisions in my factory. I will distribute all these expenses between these departments. Are you getting this? Now, how to divide this between these departments? That is what is a very interesting point. And why I'm saying interesting? Because it is logical. You need not uh, have any extraordinary, what you say, uh, learning requirement. It is very logical. So see, what are the expenses that you may have? You may have expenses which are relating to building. So what can be the expenses relating to building? The rent of the building, the repairs and maintenance of the building. Now for this, what will be the ratio that you'll use? If area is given of the building. So my entire building, I know the building is of 10,000 square feet, out of which my first department has 2,000 square feet area. The second department has 3,000 square feet area. Another department has 1,000. The service department of repairs maintenance has 1,500. The service department of my the stores has 2,500. So I will use the ratio of area to divide the expenses of building. But it will only cover rent repairs, not depreciation. Why? Because for a depreciation of any asset, the best base is for depreciation and insurance both. I'm sure you'll understand since both these are connected to the value, the best base is value. Please understand, you have to learn them. But again, I'll tell you, there is no need to learn what ratio to be used for what. It is logical. Correct? So students, do one thing. Just take a screenshot of this because now when we'll be solving the sum, this will help you in solving. One second, one second. Yes, now you can take a screenshot. Please take a screenshot. Done. Now, what we will be doing is we will be dividing all these expenses between all the various production and service departments using one of these ratios. Correct? This step where you divide the expenses between your various production departments, this step is called as the primary distribution. Right? So this step is the primary distribution. So first we'll study how to divide these expenses. Study means you'll have to simply follow these ratios. And after that, the next interesting step will come, that is secondary distribution. So this is what you have to understand. You have to divide your expenses between primary and secondary. Means in two steps. First is primary and then second is secondary. Now here again, I have curated a few sums. These are past exam sums only. Again, I'll request to take a screenshot. 1 second. Two sums together, you can take a screenshot. I'll be sharing this material very soon, but take a screenshot of this, please. So these are past exam questions, students. This is how you will get the questions in exams. Right? Taken, done. Screenshots done. Super. Very good. Very good. Very good. So you have two screenshots. One is of the example and one is of the basis. Now see, to make you understand, I have given you the real names of how the departments are. In exams, you'll have these dummy names. Either they will give you the names of the departments or they will simply call it as A, B, C, X, Y. So what is given? Manufacturing has three production departments and this is a labor intensive business, A, B, C, and two service department X, Y. The budgeted information for the year 2026-27. So you have to read this as 2026-27 is as under. Direct material, direct labor, indirect labor, area, horsepower, value of plant, etc., etc. So these are the different bases given. And then those common expenses are also given. Now, what you are supposed to do? You are supposed to do only the first step. In first step, all these expenses have to be divided between the production and the service department using the appropriate ratio. This first step is called as the primary distribution. Correct? Now see, why I have kept this blank? Because I wanted to write the name. So it is the primary distribution. So you'll get some only on primary distribution also, where you have to simply take all the expenses and divide it between all the departments. Now I have given you real names so that you can understand, but now we'll take the names given in our question, right? So I'll request you all to solve parallelly. As I told you, have to be ready with your notebooks. For drawing columns, see, I have also not drawn the lines. You also don't waste your time drawing the lines. Simply give the headings. Your figures will not run from one column to another. That you can, after my class is over, you can do it patiently. So we'll write down all the names. Again, I'm using short forms for the time being to save time so that I can solve maximum sums with you in the class. You all also please follow the same rule. But in exams, you write the full name. So first expense is direct material, second is direct labor, third is indirect material, indirect labor. Correct? Correct. Now these are those expenses which are given in the question column wise. Then you have those expenses which are given commonly. So we'll write down those expenses also. Rent 30,000, lighting 12,000. Rent common amount is 30,000. Now here I am leaving a line blank. Why? You'll understand that later. Lighting, I forgot the amount. It was 12,000. Repairs to plant 8,000. Again, one line blank. Repairs to plant. Students, I'll be using short forms just to save the time so that we can solve more and not waste time in formatting. So power 15,000, depreciation to plant 50,000. So 15, 50. This is depre of plant. This is power. Correct. Then you have after this repairs to building, which is 15 and canteen is 24. $15 and canteen is 24. Right, students? Just keep checking with the screenshot you have. And then last expenses, sundries. So same like accounts, here also you have sundries or miscellaneous or other expenses, right? So you have sundries 25,000. Now students, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to find out the total overheads after this first stage of distribution, which is called as primary distribution. Now, I have to divide these expenses into these these 5 columns, which includes 3 production departments and 2 service departments. Now, for the first 4 expenses, where the figures were given in the questions table itself, no ratios required because they were given column wise. So here in the ratio column, which is called as basis of apportionment, I'll give given. Given means it is already there in the sum. Okay, how much is for each column. So no ratio is required. Now comes the most important part. Students, please remember, we are doing summary of only overheads. So direct material, direct labor, are they overheads? Answer is no. So they will not come here. But whatever direct material, direct labor is used in the service departments, since they are used for servicing, like as I told you, oil, grease, this will be used in the repairs and maintenance department. Now it is a direct item for repairs maintenance, but for my final product, this oil, this grease is an indirect material. So even though it is written as direct material in the question, but for us, for the product, all the direct material, direct labor used in service departments for doing their service is indirect for the product. So keep in mind that whenever you are solving the sum, here in your production departments, you will not take the direct material, direct labor, but you will take it in your service departments. I hope this is clear to everyone, right? First point you have to keep in mind is this. Chalo. So how much are the figures? Let us see. So the figures, I have to ignore these as I explained. So I'll have to take only 10, 7, 20, 30. So 10, 7, 20, 30. So the total which I have distributed is 17 and 33. This is distributed as given in the question, so no ratio required, simple. Now this is indirect material, indirect labor, which is indirect, so it will be taken in all columns, correct? So now all figures will be taken. All figures will be taken. 8563, 14, 14, 8, 5, 6, 3, 14. Couldn't see how I am doing because these are some simple techniques to save your time in exams. You need not every time if you see the question paper and write, two things may happen. One, you are wasting a lot of time. Plus, even if one word here and there, because there are so many figures written many times while looking up and writing down and again looking up, you may see the other line. So what I do is, whenever I'm solving, I draw a line, what figures I'm reading, so that I do not miss the line and I do not take the figure of the other line. See, these are very small clerical errors which happens in the question. Also, I read all the figures at once and I write all at once. How? 11, 6, 7, 5, 4. This much you can remember. 11, 6, 7, 5, 4, and then just add zeros. See, these are techniques which saves time in exams. Plus, these are techniques which will also help you do it faster and error-free. Now make a total 8, 5, 13, 13, 3, 19, 13, 6, 19, 19 and 23, 400. 17, 24, 24 and 33. Fine, students? Perfect. Super. Good. Now comes the interesting part. Now, till now, these expenses were as it is given. I had to just copy it. So I had written given, given. Now there are common expenses. Now that table will be required. Now rent, nothing is given. It is obviously rent of building. So what basis I will take? I will take the basis as area. So I have to write the name of the base. Now also saving time. Wherever you are given expenses relating to building, please write it. But remember, for depreciation of building, we will not use area. But for everything else relating to building, we will use area. Just a minute, students. Yes. Now, what is the ratio of area, students? See, area is given here. This is the ratio. Now, we all have done ratios. So it is 800 is to 300 is to 60 is to 200 is to 150. Now, I know you all are students of maths. You can divide it by 5, you can divide it by 20. I don't prefer doing that. I simply divide it by 10 or 100. Now, I would have divided by 100, but here then it would be 1.5. So instead of that, I will divide it by 10. So what is the figures which I'm getting? 80, 30, 60, 20, 15. 80, 30, 60, 20, 15. Same thing here. 80, 30, 60, 20, 15. Correct? Clear to all? See, students, this step is very important because if you write wrong ratio, your all calculations are wrong. Yes, Minu. So whenever there will be depreciation, we'll use the value of asset. But when the other expenses like of building are given, like repairs, maintenance, rent, rates, taxes, we'll use area. Now, students, I'll give you a shortcut, right? Now, what is the total of this? Somebody has already given me the total. The total is 205. Now, see how you will do it. I'll show you what you all are doing whenever you are doing ratio. So let us say you have to find out the ratio of the first column here. What you will do? You will divide 30,000 by 205, right? So for A, what you have done? 30,000 on the calcia divided by 205, correct? And then you have multiplied by the ratio of A, which is 80. So students, use your calci. Please pay attention to me. I'm giving you a very interesting shortcut. You have typed 30,000 divided by 205, multiply 8080, correct? And equal to. So you have typed all these things, huh? All these signs you have typed. Now, what is the figure you are getting? 11707. Perfect. But pay attention. Till now you have got. Now you want to get the figure of B. Please pay attention to me. You have this figure in front of you on the screen. Now what students do? They will divide this by 80 and multiply it again by the next ratio figure, which is 30. Correct? You will do it like this to get B's figure. Don't do it. Don't do it. Pay attention. You have this figure on your screen. If not, then repeat this. 30,000 divided by 205 multiplied by 80 equal to. You have this figure on your screen. Now pay attention to me. What is the ratio of B? It is 30. Don't press any function key. No multiply, no divide. Just press 30 and equal to. See the magic. Just press 30 and equal to and tell me the magic. Yes, Nikunj, you are right. So when you have already done the first working by which you got 11707 something on your screen, with that figure on the screen, don't type multiply, don't type divide. Just type the next figure, which is 30, and press equal to. You directly get the figure of the next column. I hope you all got this trick. See, I am giving you tricks which saves time, which will save time. Also, most important, it will make it error free, because many times when we are dividing, multiplying by different figures, it may end up spoiling your answer. Now you have this figure on your screen. Now what is my trick? What is your next ratio? Next ratio is 60. No multiply, no divide, nothing. You have this figure on your screen. Now simply type 60, press equal to. You directly get the next figure. Diksha, I'm repeating, pay attention. So I repeat, Diksha, for everyone. What was my first step? I'm writing here again. I want to find for A. So I have typed the whole figure, 30,000. Type it, beta. Type 30,000. Now press divide by function. Now type 205, which is the total of all ratios. Now press the multiplication function and type the first ratio, which is 80. Now press equal to Diksha and all others who did not get. You get this figure on your screen. Write it here in the first column, 11707, right? Diksha, I hope you are with me. Now I want to find out for B. I already have this figure on my screen. I have not yet done anything. My figure is there. For A is working. I got 11707. I hope you also got Diksha and all others. Now this figure is on my screen. I will not press multiplication. I will not press division. I will simply press the next ratio. What is the ratio for B? It is 30. So simply type 30, Diksha. This figure is appearing on your screen. Don't type any other function key. Simply type 30 and press equal to. You get this figure. Yes, Maithili, I know that, beta. Students, this step makes it faster, more important than faster. It is error free because when you follow your old method, what was your old method? You divide by old ratio, multiply by new ratio. Many times you take wrong figures. Diksha. Now I'll write B's figure firstly in the B's column, 4309. Now I will take C's. Now for C, I already have this on my screen. Let it be on your screen. Don't type any function key. Now simply type 60, which is the ratio for C, and press equal to. Diksha, if you are typing some wrong figures, you will get wrong answer. Follow my steps. If you're following my steps, if you're following me word to word, you will not have a problem. See, all are getting the answers. Diksha, I hope you are also getting the answer now. No, Sushmita, no divide, no multiply. You are, I don't want you to divide, multiply. This is what is my trick. Your trick is divide it and multiply it. I'm not doing that. I did it only once for A. Thereafter, whatever figure I got for A, after that, I simply type the ratio of B. No multiply, no divide. Simply typing the ratio of B and equal to. Students, I hope you all are getting the trick and the answers fast. Do this for this second expense also, which is of building. Which is the second expense of building? Repairs. Do this. Diksha beta, did you get? Diksha beta, did you get? I don't know beta whether it will work in mobile phones. I have not tried doing in mobile phones. See, when I was giving exam in 98, sorry, not 98, 98 I joined. I was, during our foundation, calcies were not allowed. Inters, I also don't remember whether calcies were allowed. Later on, when final came, calcies came. I was making a lot of errors by dividing, multiplying, by dividing, multiply. Then one of my seniors in the library, he always saw that I used to keep on scribbling because in my haste of making it fast, I used to take wrong figures. So he gave me this trick. And since then, now this is no more than now around it will be 30 years in some time. So this is 30 years old trick given to me by one of my seniors in my library, which I'm passing on to you all. So the legacy should continue. You should get answers without making mistakes and also fast in exams. So I don't know about mobile phones because at that time we did not have mobile phones. So I never tried it in mobile phone. 4390878. 43. This is 90 or 09? 4390 or 4309? Okay, 90. 8781 2927. 8781 8781 2927. Correct, students? You are getting this. Similarly, the last one, 2195. Now, see, there would be 1 or 2 rupees rounding off difference that you can adjust in any one of the columns. It is allowed. So don't worry for that. On similar lines, you'll do for the other expense. Okay. So I'm taking now needs figures 58542195. Hmm. 43901 463. Hmm. 1097. See, these are now needs figures. I hope others have these figures. Right, students? Super. Diksha, very good. Very good, everyone. Lohit, good. Very good, Nikunj, Karan. Very good, Regan. Yes, good. Hmm. Pay attention, students. Now, the only skill that is required besides this computational skill, the next thing that is required is selecting the right ratio. Now, pay attention. Now, I'm writing here, what will be the ratio for lighting? The ratio for lighting will be light points. So you have to do match the pairs. Repairs to plant. Now you have to find out what is given of plant. Value is given of plant. So for repairs to plant, the ratio will be value of plant. Power I'm coming to because this is slightly tricky. Depreciation of plant, what you will do? Again, you have value of plant. Correct? Please pay attention, students. This is the only thing which is important in primary. Pay attention. Then repairs to building is already done. Canteen. Now again, see, use your logic. Though I have given you the table, but use logic. I believe more in logic than learning. So for canteen, it will be number of employees. Now see, two things are tricky. One is power, one is sundries. Now for sundries, you have to see how your department is working. If your department is working labor intensive, then for sundries, you will use labor as the base. So this will be your ratio for sundries. Why? Because my department is labor intensive. In the next question, this question, I'm just giving you the point. My department is machine department, means it is machine intensive. My production is done by using machine. Then here, when I will be allocating sundries, I will be using machine hours. So this is one small point that you have to keep in mind for sundries. So if your department is labor intensive, you'll use labor as the base. So labor hours are not given. So I'm taking labor cost. In the next sum for sundries, I will be taking machine hours. Why? Because my department is machine intensive. I hope this is clear. Now what I'm going to tell you for power is what is important. It is simple, but students make mistake. That is why I'm being more cautious. So for power, you require two things. One is this horsepower, HP, here it is. And one is machine hours, MHR. For power, You divide these, multiply these two figures, HP into machine hours. This multiplication is the ratio for power. So let me show you, students. For power, my ratio is HP multiplied by machine hours. Now, interestingly, this will be slightly huge figure. This is already 50,000 and HP is 200. So when I multiply 200 by 50,000, the figures is running in crores. So what I'll do is I will ignore these 3 4 zeros. So I'll ignore this, right? Here also I have 2 2 zeros. I will ignore them. This is our simple maths. So what is left? 2 multiplied by 5. So what is the ratio? The ratio is 10, correct? So 2 multiplied by 5, I'm getting 10. Similarly, for next one, it is 8 multiplied by 3. So it is 24. And for third, it is 5 multiplied by 4. So it is 20. And machines are used only in production departments. So you have it in only production departments. So here there will nothing be in service because machines are not used in service department. Why stores will use machine? So they're not using machines. So there is no power consumption there. Is this clear, students? See, you can further reduce it, but I don't waste time in further reducing it. Anyways, I have to do it on Calci. So why should I further reduce it by dividing it by 5 and main complicating it more? See, I like to keep things simple and strict. That makes your work faster. That makes your work error free, right? So students, I've given you this. Complete it fast. I'm opening this wala page because here I have marked which one you have to use. So we have our 15 minutes or 10 minutes break. But in that break, you have to solve the sum. You don't have the break, right? Please complete this sum. Students will complete this summa in the break. Yes, super. See, I'll share with you the solved answers so that you can match your answers. Right now, since we are slightly short of time, I would not spend time in checking because it is only a mechanical part. I'm more interested in covering more conceptual and technical part today. Okay, now see why I have selected this second sum, because it is slightly different from the first sum. So I give you all 2 to 3 minutes. Don't solve it right now. That is your homework. But you have to just mark it at your end what ratio you will use. See, for these five, no ratios are required. These five will come as it is. Only direct material, direct labor will not come here. Remaining everything will come as it is in the five columns. So this is done. Now for common expenses, I want you all to apply your mind because this sum is slightly different and you have to tell me what will be the ratio for which expenses. You can write it. Very good, Minu. Diksha, good. Yes, Minu, that is what is the point. So that is where this question is slightly different and why I have asked you all to solve. So students, in this question, what is special? You will find that there is no value of building given, but the first expense itself is depreciation of building. Now, for depreciation, we require value, but this sum is slightly different. That is why I have selected this sum. So in this question, for depreciation of building, you will have to take area. Again, interestingly, for lighting expenses, what is the appropriate base? It is light points. But again, in this case, since light points are not given, again, the appropriate base for lighting is also area. Why? See, understand logically. Light points means what? How many tube lights fans you will have. Now, either you know the number of light points in every department. If not, bigger the area, more the light points. That is logical. Same is with depreciation of building. See, depreciation is calculated on value. If value is not given, larger the space, more would be the value. So this is how this sum is slightly different because in exams, many times they play this trick. They don't give you the exact base. You have to modify. Similarly for municipal tax. Now, again, I'm sure you all know municipal tax is for building. Simple. Now, repairs to plant. Now, since this is of plant, you'll have to select the value related to plant. So for repairs to plant, you will take value of plant. Again, for power, same rule, HP into machine hours. And here it is given in all 5 departments. So we'll take for all 5 departments. Depreciation of plant. Again, it will be value of plant. See, for plant, you will take plant values. Repairs to building. Again, area. So see here, area is used at so many places. Labor welfare, it is number of employees because labor has connection with employees. And last, sundries, I've already mentioned in this sum. Since it is a machine department, for sundries, you will use machine hours. Students, have you understood this? So this is why I selected this sum, because otherwise all your module sums will follow mainly the first sum only. But I found this sum very different. So I purposefully selected this sum so that you can get the correct feel of how workings have to be done. Am I clear, students? Done? Similar lines, you have your third sum. This is your homework. Here I will not guide you. Do it by yourself. I'll definitely share the answer sheet for your comparison. So along with this sheet, which is the question sheet, I will be sharing answer sheet, but I will not share answer sheet immediately because that otherwise you'll copy. So just take a screenshot of the students. So this is your homework sum. 2 is also your homework, but 2 I've already guided you. 3 I'm not guiding you. You have to do it by yourself, but take a screenshot of this. Done, students? Clear? Now we go to the second part. What is this second part? Let us understand. Yes, Meenu, you're right. So in third sum also it is machine intensive. You're right. Now we come to the second step of production overheads charging. So what was the first step? The first step was primary distribution. Now the second step is secondary distribution. Now what is this secondary distribution? Now please understand, students, at the end of primary, what you got? You got the total of 5 departments where this is production, this is production, this is production, this is service, this is service. Now, please understand what is our ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal is charging the overheads. Second. Our ultimate goal is one second. Charging the overheads to our products, right? Now, when I started explaining you production departments, what is interesting to note is production departments are 3 and there are 2 service departments. This is how my entire factory is divided. Now, when I have to charge these overheads to my products, I will be charging only these 3 overheads to my products. Why? Because the products are getting manufactured here, not here. Then what are these service departments for? These service departments are for serving the production departments. So they serve the production departments. You agree to this? So what is secondary distribution? After you reach this is your primary distribution stage. So in primary, what you did, whatever were your expenses, all these expenses, you charge them to your different departments in the factory, which includes production and service. Now in secondary, what you will do, you will charge the service department expense to those departments who are using the service. I repeat my words. You will charge the service department overheads to those departments who are using your service. Now, who are these departments? So in secondary distribution, I have 3 production departments, 2 service. I'm using the same terminology. Now, what is the possibility? Possibility 1 is service departments are serving only the production departments. Possibility 1. Possibility 2. Service departments are serving production department, but one of the service department is also serving the other service department. Possible? I'll give you example. Like we have in our original example, what was my service department here? If you remember, in my example, this was repairs and maintenance, and this was stores. Now, stores is storing material of all the production departments plus also of repairs department, because repairs department also requires tools, molds, spare parts, oil, grease. This is kept where stores. It means source is giving service even to repairs and maintenance department. Possible? So, second possibility. And third possibility is service departments are giving service to production plus they are giving service to one another. So what is the special part? Here, they are not giving service to one another. Here, one of them is giving to another, but the another one is not giving to the first one. And here, both are giving to one another. Are you getting the difference? This is what is special about secondary distribution. Now, this is called as the direct method. This is called as the step ladder method. And this is called as the reciprocal method. Why reciprocal? Both are giving to one another, hence it is reciprocal. Correct? Now, within reciprocal, you have two methods. Simultaneous equation, and you have repeated distribution. Now, for secondary, you may get some on any one of these. So we have to practice secondary distribution. So for this, again, statement showing dash of production over its. So everything is same. Now what will be the name here? Secondary distribution. Correct? Same table. Why? Same because in fact this is continuation of primary. There is no separate table of secondary. After primary total, you continue it here. Now, actually, this is continuation of primary, as I said. So basically, after this total here, below this only here you start secondary distribution. But many times in exams, you may have only sum on secondary distribution. Now, if it is only a sum on secondary distribution, then how your answer will start? In your particulars, you will have firstly data from your primary distribution. So as per primary distribution statement. So the data will come from there. So already totals will be given here, and then you do secondary distribution. Now there is nothing new, nothing special in secondary. What we did in primary, same steps are repeated. You have to use the ratio to divide. But what is different is there are three different possibilities. Now, depending upon what the question requires, you will solve it by one of the possibilities. Now, what I will do is I want to give you a comparative approach. Okay, how these three approaches are different, what difference it is created. So what we will do, we will take only one question and we will solve it by all the approaches so that you will get a comparative understanding, right? So for this, see, I've curated two sums, 5 and 6, where I've written OR methods. So I'll request you all to take a screenshot of this 5 and 6. Take a screenshot of 5 and 6. Fine. Now, what is the data? Please understand the data. Same similar situation. Company has 3 production, 2 service departments. I have purposefully kept the name same so that you understand it simply. So let us assume this is continuation of your primary distribution. Now, since we have to do only secondary, the data of primary is given. So now you are given totals of primary distribution. Correct? So pay attention. 13,600, 14,700, 13. 12,800, 9 and 3. Right? Now we start with secondary distribution. Now this question is to be solved by all methods. I'll first solve it by the direct approach, direct method, right? Now, interestingly, if you observe the question is actually not of direct method. How I know that the question is of direct method or not? See, what is given here in data? The expenses of service department are charged on percentage basis. So they have given you the ratio. Now, what is interesting is how much service is X giving to A? 40% of its service it is given to A, 30% given to B, 20 to C, and 10 to Y. Means X is given to Y. Similarly, how Y is giving its service 30, 30, 30 to ABC and 20 to X. So I'm sure by now you'll understand originally this sum is of which method? It is of reciprocal method. Diksha beta, all sums are in modules, but the sum which I have taken are from past exams. So that you get a different perspective in module, you get more sums to practice. So don't worry, whatever I'm teaching, you'll find in module, but not the same question, so that you have variety in solving, right? Yes, Regan, you are right. So technically, this is a sum of reciprocal. Now, even in exams, this will happen. The sum will be given like this, the data will be given like this, but they will ask you to solve it by direct method. Now, how do you solve this sum by direct method? By simply ignoring the service given by X to Y and Y to X. Once you ignore this, automatically the sum becomes of direct method because now X is only giving to ABC and Y is only giving to ABC. So this sum, which was originally of reciprocal, is converted to direct method. And this you have to do in exams also, because in exam also they will ask you, they may ask you this type of sum. So either this type of sum they will ask you to solve by reciprocal, or they may ask you to solve this by direct method. So how you'll solve it by direct method? By ignoring the service given by X to Y and Y to X, right? Now these will become my ratios. So how X is giving service to ABC in the ratio of 40, 30, 20. So now I'll start. Department X expenses ratio is given in the sum. What is the ratio? 40, 30, 20. How much is the amount I have to distribute of X? It is 9,000. So 9,000 I will be charging in the ratio of 40, 30, 20. Chalo, let me know the figures. Now, importantly, since I have distributed X, So I will subtract that amount from X. Y is not getting anything, so dash. Make an interim total only of service department. So now X is 0, Y is left. So now you divide Y's expense. How much is Y's expense? 3,000. Ratio is given. What is the ratio? 30, 30, 20. So 30, 30, 20. Chalo, divide it. Correct, students? So it is 22503. Yes, this is correct. Nil, nil. And now this is my final total of A. 17, 18. So this is this is 14, 15, 550. So this is how I have divided service department, made it nil, and I get only expenses of production. Correct, students? Super. Very good. Very good. So I hope direct is understood by all. Yes, better. Even primary is easy, only primary is thoda sa time consuming because there is a lot of working done. But both are easy because both are simple calculator, calculation driven examples. Very good. Very good, everyone. Now, for the same sum, you will understand the step ladder method. Now, how step ladder method can be done? In step ladder, one department is giving to another, but the another is not giving to the first department. Here, for solving this sum by step ladder, I am assuming that X is giving to Y, but Y is not giving to X. Correct? This is my assumption. You don't have to take any such assumption. If it is a step ladder, it will be given in the sum. Yes, you're right. So I am assuming X is giving to Y, but Y is not giving to X. Correct? Chalo. In the meantime, students, before I do that, because I'll be using this same table for answering, anybody wants may take a screenshot of this. Just take a screenshot of this for your reference. Done. Now I'm using the same for solving it by the step ladder method also. Step ladder. So the format is same, everything is same, but the difference starts from here. Pay attention, students. Now we have in this particular example, to make it step ladder, I am assuming x is giving to y. So now my ratio will include y's ratio. How much y is getting 10%? So it is now 4, 3, 2, 1. So now we divide 9,000 between all. And you will subtract the same 9,000 here. Now make a total. This will be 0 and this is now 3,900. This is interesting. Now when I distribute y, I have to distribute 3,900. But y will be divided between these two only as earlier. So y will be divided between these two only. I hope you are getting this. Correct? Right, students? Everybody is getting this. So it is also simple. No doubts. Perfect, na? Chalo. I'm happy that you all have given me the answers. But why I'm having different answers? Prajot, your answer is different from others. We have still used the earlier 3,000. Now we have to divide 3,900. It is 1463, 1463, 975. Here nothing is given, and from here 3,900 is distributed, so it is subtracted. Correct? So now both are nil, and this is what you have to distribute. 16, 17, 18, 16, 17, 18, 13, 14, 14, 15. Correct? Correct. See, students, so this is how secondary distribution happens. Now take a screenshot of this whole page. So entire secondary distribution, you can take a screenshot. So you know what are the different methods and how step ladder is solved. Now students, you have two homework. Complete question 2. I've already given you the idea. Question 3 completely will solve. Question 5, I have solved the two methods. Question 6, which is also all methods, you'll solve by the first two methods only, that is direct and step ladder. So question 2 you have to complete, 3 you have to solve, and question 6 you have to solve by two methods. Is this clear? Understood? Has everybody understood primary, secondary completely? Super. Okay, then let us close for the day. Let us call it off a day, but with promise to study, to revise, and come back strong. Fine. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye. Good day, everyone. Thank you. Done, sir. Thank you, sir. Good day, Manishi. Bye bye.